Hello, everybody. We are live from the sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. Hope everybody's doing great tonight. I'm here with our very favorite guest,
Oh, thank you.
clairvoyant.
I'm not your only guest, am I? That's
Well,
okay. I'll take it. Even if I am, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Jerry McDaniel, we're very glad to have you here.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
I've got our website up here, the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit, and then I'm going to make sure to put your website up here too.
Oh, good. There it is.
Yeah. So if anybody is not familiar with your work and your books and all that you've done, how's your book sales going with your new book?
Not bad. I mean, it's much better than the first one, and it honestly, I'll be transparent. It takes me about 2 years to break even. Mind, Body, and Spirit's kind of or what is Barnes and Noble called it? Oh, they call it not self-improvement, but
Self-help?
Not even self-help, although you would think it'd be in self-help. But it's, it used to be called occult. Then it moved to New Age, and now it's I don't know. But it's doing pretty good. A Spiral Circle is going to carry the new book. They carried my old book. And of course, Castleberry Hotel and Castleberry Bookstore across the street both carry my book. And excuse me, I'm talking to Gypsy Apothecary.
Good.
And I love that store, just like I love Spiral Circle. Two young ladies that purchased that have really done a beautiful, beautiful job of renovating. Beverly would be so proud of these two young ladies. And Gypsy Apothecary carries my first book, but I've reached out and see if they'll carry my second. Oh, by the way, in 30 minutes, if you hear sirens, that means Santa is coming through the neighborhood.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, and it's a tradition. He rides in the back of a Buick, so we know that's pretty authentic, right?
Right.
So,
I'm thinking about. So, are you guys all ready for Christmas then? If Santa's coming, are you guys all decorated and ready?
we're decorated.
Okay.
That's 50%. I didn't say we're ready. My wife is ready. She's through purchasing for Christmas by the time September arrives.
Wow.
I've got, of course, she buys me stuff all year long, and I try to get her all these unusual gifts. None of them have struck a home run with her. In fact, none of them have even got on base with her. None of them have been a hit. But I got one or two things that maybe she'll like, and so she's tough to buy for. Men are simple, I think. I mean, we're simple creatures. I mean, get something associated with football or I don't know, whatever, TV or something, and we're just like lemmings to the sea. But yeah, I think we're ready. We're going to have all of my kids and the in-laws. Well, not the in-law. Well, yeah, the daughter-in-laws and son-in-law over, and our grandkids over, and it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Looking forward to it.
Good. I'm glad.
Last Christmas, I was in a hospital room and just didn't quite have the same celebration, and you don't have to be a Christian to enjoy Christmas. You can be any religion or spiritual or whatever. I always say, don't look at organized religion as organized religion. Look at it as structured vision, because in any spiritual gathering, there are some rules, there are some boundaries, there's some structure to it. Even if you go to a non-denominational church, like there's a big one near us, Northland, which is huge. I've never been inside, but looks beautiful from the outside. But just being in the spirit, and I know it's tough this year, but there's a lot of people that aren't alive, and those of us that are still alive, we still have hope. We're still, we're still here, and so anyway, there's always something to be hopeful for.
We were speaking earlier about a meme we had on the sanctuary page today about not to get bitter, especially right now, not to let this harden you. It's hard. People are much more reactive, much more emotional. Not being able to be with the people that we really care about and everything. There's just a lot of anxiety and things that we don't know, and it's all perfectly normal and understandable. But Yes, we always have hope. So,
Well, and it's easy for me to say, find hope. There are people out of work. There are people whose business have closed.
mhm,
And I'm sure some of them are going, you got to be kidding me, buddy. And I get that. You just can't lose hope,
right.
no matter how desperate. And this, for those of you who don't know me, this comes from someone who, this, Marianne, who had a 15% chance of living. And
Mhm,
I spent 8 months in the hospital. Don't want to preach about this, but I didn't give up hope.
yeah,
There were times I gave up hope. I'm not Superman. There are times I went, I guess this is it. I
mhm,
guess I'm going to pass at the age of that would have been 64.
mhm.
And I'm going to make a widow out of my wife, and I won't see my grandkids or my kids. And I guess this is it. And it was physical therapy that kept saying, Jerry, we know you got it in you.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
had to have a heart and a kidney transplant. And
That's amazing.
by the grace of God, spirit, and the universe, I'm still here.
Yeah,
So I know there's things in store that spirit wants me to do. So
I have no doubt about that. Absolutely. But as gonna get chat some more here, but I wanted to let everybody know tonight's theme is Ask the Medium. So you can ask Jerry any questions about death and dying, about what it's like to communicate with people on the other side, if there's any themes to any of the messages that he gets, anything that you might ever want to know. And you literally, I mean, so you don't really remember being on the other side. Is that what you said?
no, I don't. I remember seeing people. I remember having the strangest dreams I've ever had, or visits I've ever had.
Hmm.
Um, I can't even describe them. People said, "Can you describe where you were?" And I can't describe it because it would come out gibberish.
Hmm.
In almost every dream I had, I was either dead or dying, and there were just some odd dreams. One dream, I dreamed I went to heaven or a higher dimension. I
Hmm.
had passed, and heaven was run by Wi-Fi. So I'm sorry,
Okay.
by Wi-Fi, and they were having Wi-Fi problems. They turned to me. Now I'm not really good with computer stuff here on the Earth plane,
Hmm.
but this was. But in almost every dream, I couldn't move my arms and my legs.
Hmm.
And then when I finally woke up, I couldn't move my arms or my legs. Uh,
Ah.
and But yeah, I was in a coma for 45 to 60 days.
Mhm,
And But my clairvoyance increased. I did a lot of messages in the hospital.
mhm,
I didn't see people who had passed walking by, and other mediums have, because they're more in tune with that particular gift. Uh, I'm in tune, but maybe not. We all have different gifts. We all have sixth sense gifts. I
mhm,
preached about this before, and I think my job is my mission and purpose, or my meaning.
mhm,
It's like I put on my Facebook page, JMac Medium, uh, that I heard from Father John Blewett at St. Stephen's, and he ended his homily with, "The meaning of life is finding your gifts. The purpose of life is using them."
mm,
And that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
mhm,
I don't know if it's a quote from somebody. He didn't reference it, but so that's part of my purpose and meaning in life. This second time around, this second chance,
mhm,
is to get people to realize you don't have to be like some of these TV mediums or other mediums that I know who had these gifts.
mhm.
And we all had the gifts, but they discovered their gifts at the age of 5 or 6. Mine was the age of 56. Okay. And it's just to, I think, to give inspiration to people who say, well, I can't identify with somebody who saw, who sensed their grandmother was dying and they were only 7 years old. And
Mhm, mhm.
I didn't. And so my thing is, you've got gifts. You find them and use them.
Yes.
And it's going to be so tremendous when you do. So
And
anyway,
now more than ever, people are really tapping into their intuition, and they may not realize what it is at the moment because it sounds like your
yeah,
own voice in your head, right?
yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It's why so many people don't identify themselves as religious,
Mhm,
but identify themselves as spiritual.
mhm,
And they're intertwined, but not as closely at times than we think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for some reason, or I organize a religion, church service, whatever, isn't filling the need of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, get in a circle, get somehow in a circle where you feed off that energy, they feed off of yours.
Mm-hmm.
You can circles are so important. So I don't think you can be spiritual sitting at home alone. I really don't.
Yeah.
We need other people. We may not need, because I'm Catholic, we may not need this,
Mm-hmm.
we may not need that, but we need something. Like
Right.
Catholicism gives me some energy because
Mm-hmm.
there's people there. Now I'm live streaming, but get in a circle and you'll feel that energy
Mm-hmm.
and you'll discover your gifts. That's how I discovered mine. I went to a mediumship meditation circle for 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I discovered my gifts, So anyway.
Yeah. Well, we can read all the books in the world, but if we don't
Yeah.
practice, we learn, and that's how we practice is by getting ourselves out there and interacting with other people.
Yeah.
And it's been real easy this year to stay at home and to kind of hide and just be by ourselves. If we really need that interaction, whether it's by Zoom or phone calls or whatever, it really is important. So,
and we can connect with people on the other side of the world if we want to.
mm-hmm.
Through
Yeah.
Zoom, and it's just amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
So,
You and I are old. We remember back in the day when you couldn't make a long distance phone call without getting in trouble from your parents because it was like $2 a minute,
Yeah,
And,
and you had to wait until the evening when the rates went down, and sorry, and people probably scratch their head going, "What? What are you talking about rates?"
There's
Well,
a friend of we were childhood friends that lives in Sweden, and I actually had an hour-long Facebook, over. So Facebook basically does what Zoom does.
yeah,
But it's completely free. You could do one person or you could do multiple people on there. And we had a Facebook live call because she doesn't have an iPhone free for an hour. And I just thought, we never would have dreamt when we were kids that we could have talked for an hour.
oh, absolutely, absolutely.
This week.
You always had a parent going,
Uh-huh. Yep.
"Okay."
Before we move on to the next topic, I'm just reminding everybody, if you have any questions for Jerry about mediumship, about death and dying, what happens on the other side, what it's like to communicate with the other side, what would you want to know? There's a book that was when I had my store that was real popular. It was called "Do Dead People Watch You Shower?"
Oh, I remember. I haven't read it, but that was real popular for a long time.
It was, and that's what they, want to know is questions like that. So if anybody has any cool questions like that, let me know. And then similarly, Jerry will be doing readings throughout the show tonight. So if you have a question about a reading, please post it in all caps so that it'll stand out a little bit more. Now, somebody asked me a question here, and it was a question about a personal relationship that she's in, and it was a very specific question.
Okay.
And I told her I didn't think that you did personal relationship readings like that, because a lot of times that could, you're tapping into somebody else's energy.
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, I can give you what spirit will give me.
Okay.
And a lot of times, because let's face it, 99% of my clients are women, and 1%, obviously, 99 plus 1 is 100. So I went to public schools, but so I was never that good at math. Public schools in Memphis, sorry about that. And most of the time, women want to know about relationships. Men want to know about jobs, substance, career, stuff like that.
Right.
And not every time. And spirit will never tell me, you need to do this, you need to do that. Spirit will a lot of times spirit will say, use, especially women whose intuition is so friggin' strong. It really is. Mm-hmm. Use your intuition. Because most of the time when I tell anything that deals with a personal relationship, I may say I sense distance, and there's two ways. Mm-hmm. Spirit saying there's two ways to get back together. Either you work it out or you don't work it out. Mm-hmm. That's common sense, I know, but that's what spirit says. I never tell somebody, you need to leave this person, or you need to work it out, because I'm not Dr. Phil. I'm not.
Has it ever happened that spirit, said this person's being abused or this person, is in a very bad state? And then how do you convey that to the person you're reading?
Yeah, it comes out. It comes out. And, and spirit just eases. Always pray to spirit. Not always. I should always. Give me the words that will help this person.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people want to know, what do I do? Where can I turn? And a lot of times as Jerry McDaniel, I don't have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I could, and there's times I did a reading yesterday when I said, okay, this is from Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what Jerry thinks, but they don't come to me for what Jerry thinks, and they shouldn't. They should come to me for what spirit thinks, what's the universe thinks, what does God think, what does spirit guides think, what do the ascended masters and the archangels think, if we go in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it is so many women have been abused. It's just staggering. Spirit will bring it out, but maybe not in those words. And a lot of times a person who's receiving the reading will say, or I'll just come out and say it, not initially, but after spirit has kind of gently guided me in there, I'll just say, I'm getting the feeling you were abused, or there's some abuse. I'm going to say there's some abuse. And I always tell them, listen, abuse is in several different layers, several different forms. And once I start naming the forms that spirit gives me, and that we all know, there's so many forms of abuse. Then they'll say, yeah, I was abused. And but most of the time they admit that on their own. I may go into somebody's past, or spirit may go into somebody's past, and I said, you're not responsible for anything that happened to you growing up. You do realize that. And most of them break down crying, because all the time they thought that they were responsible. I said, you do realize you're the victim here. You do realize you don't own other people's issues. You're the victim here. So now spirit wants to know, how do you get past that? And I always say, but the past, if you're going to bury the past, throw away the shovel.
Right.
Yeah, just throw it away. And the
When
past is, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
in the readings that you've given to me, often what's most profound, there's always great stuff in there,
Well,
but
thank
it is you telling me something I already knew, but that for me is confirmation.
you. Yeah, I
That.
think. Yeah, I think, Marianne, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I think most of the people, when they get a reading, I think most of the stuff they already knew. But they want to know, okay, am I just thinking this, or is this my intuition, which is your soul talking to you? It's the essence of who you are. And I think most people, they already know the answer, but that's okay. They're looking for some validation. They're looking for, it's almost like going to a doctor for a second opinion. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
Okay,
That's exactly it. So, I might have kind of thought something or suspected it, but that's why I get a reading, was because I like confirmation, or I'm looking for direction, or, I'm looking for just a little bit of guidance, whether, it's from you or spirit or a combination of. So
if she has a reading about personal relationship, I can do a reading if she wants.
Samantha, if you're still here, just post a comment there, and then we'll see. So let's take one reading in the meantime, and then I have another thing I want to discuss with you that's not about mediumship, but it's in the news right now, and I thought it would be fun to talk about.
Okay. Wayne, just in general, asking what is ahead from me in my path. Okay, Wayne, when I look at paths, and thank you for being here tonight, appreciate it. I'm looking at, over here is the past, here in front of us is the current, and then over here is the future. That's just kind of how I look at it, or how spirit presents it to me. Now you're looking at it opposite, but I'm looking at it to my left, which shows me as a right, of course. And what I'm hearing from Spirit, Wayne, it's time to revisit the past. Now I know I just said if the past is horrible, if you're going to bury the past, throw away the shovel. If it's something bad that has happened, but I think it's time to revisit the past, and it's time to revisit a relationship that will help you in the future. Your path. Why do I feel you? Let's talk about career for a minute, Wayne. Why do I feel? Oh, you have strong clairvoyance abilities, which means you see pictures and images. Some are literal, some are symbolic, and that's clairvoyance. Um, and Spirit wants you to pay attention to the random thoughts. Like if I'm a big college football fan, Wayne, I'm a big Notre Dame Fighting Irish. So if I'm doing a reading, all of a sudden I think of Fighting Irish. That's a memory. That's Jerry. But if I'm somehow somebody says, "Hey, what about the Boston Bruins?" See, that's totally random. That means it means something. So they want you to pay attention to the random thoughts that you get, the good random thoughts, because sometimes we get negative thoughts. I'm just as guilty as anybody else. And this will start to put a piece of a puzzle. First of the year, I see you on a brand new path. Now, that could be within the first 45, 60 days, a brand new path. Even if and I feel somewhere in the last year or two, Wayne, excuse me, you started on a new path or had your foot on a potential new path, and now Spirit is asking to take a leap of faith. Now, if you're not working, if you're retired like I am, I don't sense you're retired. If you are retired, I sense you're much younger than me. Then it's time to do maybe some volunteer work, and that will bring more light. It's been a real difficult year for you, Wayne, and I'm not just talking about COVID-19 and the racial issues we face and continue to face. It hasn't gone away. It's not liable to go away unless we do something one person at a time, one positive thought at a time. That's the only way we change minds, people's hearts and minds, and our own hearts and minds. And I'm not talking about the economy. I think for whatever reason, I'm looking at a recent passing of someone within the last year. Okay. And don't know who it was, family member, close friend. But I'm sensing a brand new path, or you're starting on a potentially brand new path by the end of February. And this will be a path that somehow is connected to the past. That's why Spirit wants you to revisit the past and say, it could be career. Quite honestly, it could be relationship. Here's a relationship in the past, and let me revisit that. It doesn't have to be romantic, or it could just be a close friend, could be a coworker, could be somebody you lost touch with, and they will help. This person will help you get. I think it's more than one person. Like this person will help you get to where I think you really want to know. And I think you really want to know because you're a deep thinker. You chastise yourself for not being a deep thinker, but you're a deep thinker, Wayne. It's almost like your brain is structured, analytical, almost engineered type. Numbers are really good. You remind me of me. I love numbers. But I think next year is an exciting year. How many thousands of years are we talking about? Oh, Wayne, I don't know how many thousands of years. I'm asking Spirit. I've never had a question like that. That's pretty cool, Wayne. For the past relationship. So we're talking about almost like a past life regression. I don't do, but Spirit gives me information. I'm going to go back to the day of the Crusades and medieval, where the Muslims and the Christians were fighting over Jerusalem. And that time period is what I'm talking about. So if you've done a past life regression, which I believe you have, Wayne, it's time to do another one. and say, what about that? Okay, spirits now lead me down a different path. There's some unfinished business in a past life. I can't bring it out. I can only give you what spirit's given me, but I'm not. I use Diane Ross for my past life regression. She's fantastic. There's some unfinished business, Wayne, almost like, okay, almost like there's a castle. There was something you didn't conquer, or something you didn't build or create. And now you have this desire to build or create something. And excuse me, Wayne, and Spirit saying you're laying the foundation. So I'm looking at, it's not 3,000 years. Is it? No, it's not 3,000 years. So whenever the Crusades were, back that time, I'm not going to say you were the Crusades, I'm not going to say you're Christian or Muslim, but that time period.
He mentions the Spanish Inquisition here.
What?
He mentions the Spanish Inquisition, that he had some past lives there.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and is something, Wayne, that you didn't finish in that lifetime. You wanted to create something and you laid the foundation, and Spirit says you have the foundation now. It's a different foundation. This is interesting, Wayne. Spirit just said creating a sanctuary. Now you'll have to dig and use your intuition and meditate on, but you tried to, back in that time, to create a sanctuary, but so many people were fighting and killing each other. It was hard to find a sanctuary. And now it's time to almost like you go start your own church. Oh man. Or your own place where people can go and feel safe. So anyway, that's what I've got for you, Wayne. And great question. I've never had that question. I mean, thousands of years. Normally I hear somebody, okay, are we talking about 2019 or 2020? And I understand that's what but yeah.
That is why I created the sanctuary for mind, body, and spirit, to have a place where people would feel comfortable being around other people of like mind, mainstream people, and can ask any questions.
And that's why Marianne Spirit has blessed this and continues to bless you and bless this. And I see this
for you and your gifts, for sure.
Oh, hey, it's such a pleasure to share gifts. It really is.
Okay, so we have a question about the other side. What is our relationship to our spouse, kids, and other loved ones on the other side? Karen's read conflicting info on it, and it scares her to think that she won't know them in the way that she does now.
Two things. First of all, Karen, I'm great you asked it. It's great you asked that question. I'm glad you asked that question, because the conflicting information, you can put 10 psychic medium clairvoyants, and I believe we have some of those on here with us this evening. You can put them in a room, and it's not that they have conflicting opinions or different opinions. Spirit will tell them different things about the other side, things that, and all I can tell you is when we get over there on the other side, it's our light. It's our light and our energy that attracts. You will know, don't be scared. You will know those people. You will know your loved ones. You're not going to be like in a mosh pit going, where are they? So please don't be, and I know it's a great question. I've never heard that question. It's a fantastic question, but you will know them by their energy. Your kids and your spouse could be in a crowd. And Karen, I think you would, if they were in disguises, I think you would know who they are, because you would recognize their energy. We might not think of it that way, but it is. It's almost like, well, that's my son, that's my daughter, that's my husband, or that's my wife, or whatever. And you could pinpoint them fairly quickly because they're giving out an essence that is connected to you. That's why when the loved ones, think of it this way, Karen, when I do readings, or I'm sure you've had readings before, or maybe you do readings, maybe you're a medium, I don't know. I think, when loved ones come through, they recognize that person, not by their light, but they recognize, I mean, not by their face. I mean, they may recognize their face, but they recognize that person by their light and their energy. and they know they're connected to them. So the loved ones come through. And I've done so many readings where people have sit across from me. I mean, not lately, not this year. I do one-on-one Zoom and phone, but in which a grandfather will come through and they go, "Oh, I didn't know my grandfather very well." I said, "But he's connected to you. He recognizes the energy. He recognizes the essence and the light. We were light, but we were spirit before we, or a soul before we had body." As somebody said, we're not body with who happens to have a spirit. We're spirit with the body. So please don't be scared. Either you find them or they'll find you. There. That's the best way. That's a great question. It's a great question. It's an outstanding question.
You mentioned in one of my readings who was there when my mother crossed over. Do you often get information on that, on who was there when someone crossed over? I've heard you mention it on this show.
Yeah, a couple of times. In other words, I've had where people, especially especially this year, I've had a lot of readings where people asked in a hospital. And I said, well, there are angels there, but the angels won't intervene until it's time to go. And when they get over there, they'll recognize. That's a great segue. It's a great point. When you get over there, you're not like a stranger in strange land. You will feel the energy. You will feel the essence and the spirit, and you will recognize people immediately. Your loved ones will be there. Now, for some, it's Jesus. For some, maybe it's Buddha, or what have you. Or it could be your spirit guide. You'll know your spirit guide. I've never seen my spirit guide. Other mediums see my spirit guide. I've never seen my spirit guide. I try, but I think I try too hard, quite honestly. But yeah, that's a great point, Marianne, a great segue. They will be waiting. Some of them will be waiting, or maybe all of them. I don't know how it works, but loved ones will be waiting because of the connection that you have with your loved ones and vice versa.
It's wonderful. And that was very comforting, I think.
Yeah.
To know that we will see them again, that, basically our time on earth is almost like being away for the summer, from the other side, that once we're on the other side, we realize that we weren't really gone that long. And it's hard to see from this side when this is all that we know and everything.
Well, it is, because for the most part, time doesn't exist on the other side. They could say, "Jerry, we'll see you here real soon." Real soon could be tomorrow, or it could be, they'd never tell me that.
Right.
They better not never tell me that. Or it could be 30 years from now.
Right. Yeah. All right. We've got a couple of other questions that people have asked, but first I wanted to ask your thought. This is really becoming much more interesting than I thought it was going to be, about those monoliths. Have you been?
Oh, I just saw the picture of those.
Well, there's 6 now.
Yeah, and they're all over the world, aren't they?
Yes.
And they remind you of the monolith in 2001, Space Odyssey.
Yes.
Which is a great movie. I'm sorry to say, but I watched it. First I watched it. No, that was, well, it didn't come out in 2001, obviously. I think I was on LSD. I'm sorry to say, I'm transparent. I think I was on LSD when I first watched it. I went, this is possibly the greatest thing ever created. And I'm sorry, how the computer, one of Stanley Kubrick's early masterpieces. But yeah, two guys admitted they built one. That's okay. And then one was there, and then it disappeared, I think, didn't it? I didn't read the whole story.
Most all of them have disappeared.
Really?
Yeah. So the Utah one, 2 people took it down because it was way out in the mountains, and like in the Red Rock Mountains, and they didn't want, and because people were already coming out there to see it and leaving trash and everything, so they took it down. Then the one appeared in Romania. Then another one appeared in California, which I wondered if the one in California couldn't have been the one from Utah, that people got it and moved it. The one in Romania, that's awfully far for a prank, but now there's been others. Sele, one of the gals that's got a question for you a little bit later. She said there was one in El Paso, and it was stolen in less than 24 hours, but an artist took credit for putting it up. So I wondered if it was like crop circles, like some of them might be. Now, I don't think that they're built by ET. I do think that humans are building them, but for what purpose? What,
Yeah,
I think, is it to help us kind of get used to maybe communicating with extraterrestrials or, uh,
the first thing I thought of when I saw the monoliths was extraterrestrials. That's the first thing I saw. Did you ever see the movie Signs?
yes. Oh yeah.
Great movie in which their hypothesis was the crop circles were actually landing patterns.
Mhm,
Um, great M. Night Shyamalan, one of his best movies, I think, Signs.
mhm,
Um, and it's the beautiful thing. The great thing about this is created conversation about what is this, and it gets us off of politics and off of COVID-19, unless we've had somebody who's come down with it. I get that.
yeah.
It gets us off. Well, I don't want to say the economy, because if you're struggling, nothing gets you off of the economy.
Mhm.
And
Free.
shame.
I'm so grateful that the election's over and that we can really
Oh,
stop talking about that too. So I talk about monoliths all day rather than all of this other negativity that's been out there. So
well, we need to pray for Congress and for Senate, and get these stimulus bills passed.
yeah,
There's people really hurting, and out
yeah,
of a job during holiday time, wondering how they're going to pay the rent. Excuse me, when the next bill. So if we send positive energy, and I
mhm,
mean, get people to, like today, I dropped off some gift cards. I should be doing this every day.
yeah. That's
I
nice.
dropped off. I dropped off gift cards. I'm in a prayer group. We've been together for over 20 years. Um, and anyway, but the monoliths, yeah, I didn't know about it. You're more in tune with what's going on,
So I've asked myself because I'm unsure. I don't want to just jump to a conclusion. I have some ideas, but we'll see how many more there are now that there's some on, Isle of Wight, which is near Scotland.
Ooh, I love white.
Yeah. That's pretty far. But anyway, so I had a vision this morning. That's when I get my clearest communications from the other side, is in the morning, just as I'm waking up, before my self has actually had a chance to kick in. And I was shown basically an ant hill, and there was ants doing their thing. They go in and out. They have their jobs. They go and they look for food and they bring it back and everything. And what if we watch these ants every day for 1,000 years? And what if at some point the ants were really getting ready to rise up into, I'm not going to say higher beings, but more than they were, that they're going to start being more aware of their surroundings. Let's maybe even go so far as to say some may become sentient and really start to experience consciousness. And then a few more, and then there's a few more and a few more. Would it take for humanity to realize that this group of insects is ready to have communication and to become more than they've been perceived as for eons? And it was an analogy for how we're being viewed by enlightened beings or higher beings in other planets. So, they're higher beings enough that they have travel, and means of science and ways to get around that we don't. So clearly they are, more well versed in things like that. What is it going to take for them to think, to know that we're ready? It's not going to be by reading our minds, it's going to be by our actions.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm wondering, is that even if humans are making these monoliths, this is completely a guess. Next, in 2 weeks, I might have a completely different opinion. But I'm wondering if this isn't spurring, like you said, the conversation and getting people thinking and talking, and that, it might eventually, raise the consciousness enough that it might be time. Now, and again, this is a whole other show, but a guy from Israel in the government, was he in charge of the, I'll have to check that, but as somebody high up ranking, said that the Israeli government is in contact with ETs, and so is the American government. And it's just a thing that they just choose to not tell us about it. But basically, every country is aware of the fact that there's extraterrestrials coming and going in and out of our skies.
Yeah.
So,
I would love to sit on a conversation between America and ETs, because ETs are probably going, "What in the world are you
yeah,
guys doing?"
especially this year.
Yeah.
But the first time that I read about it was in Shirley MacLaine's books, because she had access to things because she was an actress and had money and connections. And but Eisenhower was the first president to actually have contact with them and actually speak with
Oh
them. Oh
wow.
yeah, we could do a whole show on that. Yeah, there was
I've never contacted anybody famous. I did one time. I was thinking about this the other day. I had a young lady in my office. This was probably 3-4 years ago. She had a machine. She didn't bring the machine. She described this machine. It was like a, I don't know. It's a beautiful. It was. She described it beautifully. It would help you heal and do all this other stuff. And she was looking for the right um, uh, coordinates. And I was clueless. I said, let me just see what I get. And Nikolai Tesla came through.
mm,
And the
wow.
only reason I recognized him, it was just his black and white, that famous black and white, or at least the black and white picture that I see all the time. And I
Mhm.
went, holy cow. And I didn't, all I heard was some numbers and coordinates. And I said, okay, you may want to write this down. This is what I'm getting. And she said, who's giving you? I said, Tesla.
Wow.
And now I don't, you really have to be connected with somebody famous to,
Mhm.
but I wasn't connected with Tesla. I mean, but she had a machine and she wanted some coordinates,
Wow.
and I never followed up, or she didn't follow up. We didn't do another reading,
Uh-huh.
and she kept looking at it going, oh man, this is great. And I was like, okay, good luck.
Well,
We did other things, but this is where the people from the other side, loved ones from the other side, or even scientists, whatever, can
mhm.
help us so much. I
Mhm.
think of the sleeping prophet, Edgar Casey, and all that he did while he was asleep, and all the medical stuff that came through. And
Mhm.
I mean, just a brilliant guy. Anyway, I got off, so I digress. Sorry about that.
Well, that was really interesting. That's really interesting because there may be other people I'd be interested in hearing from as well. Let's go to a question right now. I'm going to put up a question from Debbie, and then Sally, you will be next, and then we'll still get to a few more as well. She's got a good question. How do I meet my guides?
Yeah, I have trouble with knowing what is spirit or me. It's two great questions. Um, Let me take the second part of that first. That's probably number one. If you read most books about spirit, about mediumship, about psychic abilities, that is probably one of the top questions. How do I know it's me? And how do I know it's spirit or the universe or God or my spirit guides or what have you? Um, here's the way, Debbie, that I put it. Um, when it's random, when it's a random thing that you're getting, that's coming from spirit. In other words, again, it's like I mentioned a while ago, I love college football. If I get something about Notre Dame, or if I get something about the University of Alabama, which is my wife's favorite team, I know it's a memory. I know it's me thinking of something. But if
Mm.
I get something random, it doesn't have to be totally random, but it's just something that you've not thought of in a while. And all of a sudden, there it is. It could be something, Debbie, that you've thought of, a few days ago, a few weeks ago, a few months ago. And all of a sudden it appears again, like before. Excuse me, Dad. I'm sorry. I'm fighting sinus. Sometimes before a reading, and this is another thing, Debbie, if you're giving a reading or if you're receiving a reading, sometimes before reading, I'll think of something and I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's spirit or me. If it comes back a second time, that's spirit going, hey, it was us the first time and it's us the second time. So pay attention. How do I meet my guides? I got in a circle, a meditation mediumship circle. And a lot of times, it's all off the screen there. A lot of times, Debbie, like I said, other people see my spirit guide. I don't. I even attended a ceremony in which I could feel her close to me. But I don't anymore. And I'll tell you why I don't as much anymore. I don't meditate, because depending on how they come, how a spirit guide comes in, because as you said, Debbie, you got guides, and you're right. We have more than one guide. My main spirit guide is Celine. I have Monsignor Morris, who's a Catholic priest. I know him because he converted. I went through instructions to convert from Methodism to Catholicism. I have a gypsy lady. Don't know her name, but other people see her. She wears very bright colors. Mm-hmm. And seems like I have another one. Oh, and I had Serafina, who was in the circle that I was in, and she was a multi-hundred-year-old guide. And the circle that I was in, we experience every week. Like I said, it was every week for about 4.5 years. The leader of the circle would do trance mediumship. If you've ever seen that, you can kind of be taken aback at first, because if you're not used to seeing it, I wasn't used to seeing it, but the leader of our circle, his face changed. I don't know how to, and he's Hispanic, but he was speaking old Spanish. And so it's really a transfiguration is what it is. I know a lot of Christians get upset when I say that. Jesus wasn't the only one. That's probably the most famous transfiguration, right? And so being in a circle, being in a group, and doing a silent meditation, and it took me a while, Debbie. It took me a year to learn who my guides were. And it was, I just kept meditating. I kept meditating in silence. I took classes at a spiritualist church that I used to speak at, Spiritualist Church of Awareness, and beautiful people there. But they, in their infinite wisdom, which they probably didn't need a Catholic talking at their church. I was a good speaker, but I understand. Imagine having a spiritualist talk at a Catholic mass. You would have heads spinning in the aisles. It looked like 1,000 Linda Blairs going, what's going on? And so that's what I have with guides. And, pay attention to the random stuff. If you get something more than once, because we think of so many thoughts a day, chances are that spirit talking to you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Have a sip of water.
By the way, this update, I think Santa's late because I don't hear the 15 Buicks that are in a line.
That's right. Well,
so
need to get caught up.
And it's cold outside anyway.
It is really cold. I moved the Mediterranean plants in the garage, the rosemary and sage and the basil and everything. So, all right. Let's see. Yeah, it's so cold. I had to put on socks. It's that cold. I'm telling you.
I'll alert the press.
Here you go. Sally would like a message from Spirit.
Sally. Oh, hey, Sally. Good seeing you. I say good seeing you. There's a lot of faces in there. The first thing I get, Sally, it's almost like your wish has been granted. And Spirit and God and the universe, archangels, ascended masters, the whole group, the whole gamut, they rarely say that. But it's almost like something you've been wishing for or praying for or really thinking a lot about is about to happen. And this will help you, Sally. Did I pronounce her name right, Sally?
I think so.
Okay. This will help you, Sally, evolve into a more higher being. That's what they're saying. I think you're about to raise your consciousness. That's all it says heavy-handed, but I just give you what Spirit says. And also, there's a person in your life that's not the most trustworthy person. And I think you know who I'm speaking about. And just tread carefully if you have doubts about somebody. Again, that's your intuition, that's your soul talking to you. That's actually your spirit guide talking to you through your, and Some people that disagree, but this is what Spirit says. This is how Spirit guides really communicate with us, other than in silent meditation. I love silent meditation. Used to drive me crazy, but there's a female coming through, Sally, and
It's Sal, she told me.
Sal. I'm so sorry. Oh,
My bad.
1,000. Well, that's okay. I would have said that anyway. Sal, excuse me, 1,000 pardons, Sal. So I hope she'll forgive me. This holiday season and past holiday seasons, like most holiday seasons, I'm sorry, there's always drama, right? But this holiday season will have far less drama than last year's. Whatever last year's brought in drama, because you need to finish the year with some peace and quiet, like we all do. But the happiness of this, I want to get back to the first thing I said. The happiness that you seek, the real happiness, will soon be upon you. And that's what Spirit is saying. So I said, your wish has been granted. That's what they said to me. It just didn't sound right. Your wish has been granted. Because, because some people's prayers seem to be answered and others don't, doesn't mean that somebody is praying harder than we are. It just means we don't see the big picture that God lays out, that Spirit lays out, that's the universe lays out. We don't see the big picture. Hey, is there a guy named Graham here?
In the viewership, not that I can see.
Okay, because I wanted to tell him, I didn't just dream of his name. I saw where he shared tonight's thing. He shared it on his Facebook page. I want to tell him, I don't know if he's written a book, but it's really time for him to write a book. And I think he's a trance medium. This isn't something Spirit guy. This is something I saw on Facebook, okay? Because he seems to be a really neat guy. And I just glanced at his Facebook and I saw Facebook page because I saw where so many people shared it. I was just trying to see who all shared it, and
I happen to know there might be a book in the works for him, so that's very
good.
So,
Good. Because
tell him he's got to listen to this if he's not on right now. Great.
he is has he ever written a book before?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, he is a much better writer than what he gives himself credit for. Much better. Okay. Trilogy. I'm seeing 3, and maybe it doesn't have to be like the Hunger Games or something like that. Hey, if it was like the Hunger Games, you'd be a rich man, Graham. So give Mary and I a cut of the profits. So we'll enjoy that. I'll give it to Mary Ellen. She's Disney cut her loose.
You're all going to be selling more books once we can get you back into the fairs and out in public and everything. So
yeah, I know. I'm missing your fairs. I really am.
We miss you too, but now hopefully it won't be too much longer. Okay.
So, Sal, that's what I have for you. And I'm sorry, Sal, if I got deep, deviated, I just boom. I'm like your ADD.
Well, when Spirit talks, you've got to go. You've got to follow. So, all right, Nicole, where is she?
I know Nicole.
You do.
If there's last name start with D? No, Nicole Sunshine.
That's her. This is her Facebook or her moniker. But yes, it's Nicole D.
Okay, she's the angel because she has that picture of her with the angel wings.
Yeah.
First time I'm getting Nicole is there's father, grandfather. It's a father-like essence, father-like light and spirit, saying he's proud. If your father's still living, it's not your father, but he's acted like your father. And he said, it's time to take that trip. It's like a trip that maybe, like all of us, we postponed this year or we put it on hold, but it's time to take a trip. You need a break. Oh God, Spirit said, you need a break from the human beings. So Spirit thinks very highly of you, Nicole. I just saw a lot of light around Nicole. And the first question I have about Nicole is, does she read auras? Auras, I can never pronounce that word. That's my Memphis accent coming through, auras. And because I think of talked to Nicole before about her gifts. She has many gifts. She's tapping into this one, this one, this one, this one. And photography is a big, I had somebody take the aura. Have you ever had that, Mary Ellen? Somebody takes a picture of your aura?
Yeah.
Aura?
Yeah.
It is tremendous. It really is. Mine wasn't too good at the time. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was so swallowed up in work and so stressed. And it wasn't the blues. It was more the reds or whatever. I can't remember. I have to go back and look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think photography is big for Nicole. This father-like spirit is father-like essence, let's say, is calling you butterfly. Butterfly. That seems to be, I don't know if it's a term of endearment or he is saying he's very full of wisdom. So I'm trying to ask now if he's a spirit guide because he's not talking like a father. He is a spirit guide. Now, her father could be in spirit, but this is definitely a spirit guide because he says it's time to fly away from the perch that you've been on. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you, I'm a father. I don't talk like that. And even if I went into spirit, hopefully 20 years from now, I probably wouldn't talk like that. I'd talk like a father, But most fathers don't talk like it, but real spiritual beings, not that your father wasn't spiritual or isn't spiritual. It's time to leave the perch. It's time to leave the nest. It's time to what I used to say in training, get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Oh, you got a rug.
I do, yes.
It's moving. Spoiled. Nicole, this is really exciting. I think it's scary. It's risky, but spirit has your back. There's a great book I haven't read. I love the title, The Universe Has Your Back. And it's going to be one of the many books that I buy and don't read. So I'm looking forward to buying it and not reading it. And something about blogging about your adventures or going on adventures and blogging or writing about it or something. I love it when Spirit says it's time to write. It's time to write. And it is time for you to leave the nest. The nest means you're comfortable. It doesn't mean you leave relationships. It just means you spread your wings like a butterfly and you fly all over the place and you explore things. And that's what Spirit is saying. So this is Spirit Guide. I'm hearing Ramon. You don't remember. You're too young, Nicole. Probably remember the rock group, the Ramones. God, they were good. Kind of punk rock, but that's okay. Can't tell I was a punk rocker, can you? So anyway, Nicole, that's what I have for you. And I love your last name.
It suits her.
Yeah, it does. I mean, she's got the angel wings. She's the one with the picture of the angel wings, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So,
yep.
Okay.
All right. We only have time for one more question. And I always hate it when we come to this time. So if you're not the person who is going to get the next message, please email us ahead of the next show, which is going to be in 2 weeks. And I would try to get you on first.
And I will try, as I've done before, I will look back later tonight at because I don't see them as they come up. I don't want to see any of the messages as they come up, and Mary Ellen knows that. So because this is Mary Ellen's show, this isn't my show. I would screw this up so bad. This is my show. You would have beautiful pictures of this. This would be me and how I'd be talking. You would have great pictures of the ceiling. And but I will try to respond. I'll try to pick out the trolls and delete them because Mary Ellen's got a lot going on. I don't have much.
Okay, so if you don't get a message live during the show tonight, Jerry will try to respond to you in messages in this broadcast. So take a look for that. Okay. Here we go. Kathy.
Oh, Kathy, I know Kathy. You know, Kathy, it's funny. It's been a rough week for a lot of people. It's been a good week for me. Oh my God, been a rough week. It's only Tuesday too. But it was a rough week last week, Kathy, for a lot of my close friends. And um, all right, my phone is somewhere. The alarm's going off. It's not Santa.
Oh,
It's my daughter sets my time. It's time for me to take my medication. Can I be right back so I can turn off this?
yeah.
Don't worry, I'm not running out to meet Santa. All he does is throw out used candy canes. So
Oh, oh,
I've had enough of that.
here. Oh, Mr. Bingley, say hello. There we are. We'll see if we can get to a couple more questions after this too. Jerry's always pretty open to going a little bit over. No, Kathy, it's not a sign. It just means he needs to take his medicine. There we go.
And I'm back. Sorry, Kathy.
She wanted to know if that was a sign.
No, it's not a sign. It's a sign for me to take medication because I take about 18, 19 pills a day just until I can wean myself off of these pills because of the transplants. That's not a sign. Kathy, don't be funnier than Jerry. That's rule number one. It's not allowed. I know some Dunlaps from Memphis. I don't know what that's. Yeah. All right. So this is two people. It's almost like an older couple. The gentleman's tall. The lady is shorter, but I mean much shorter. A gentleman would be about 6 foot, and the lady would be about, I don't know, 5'2", 5'3". I mean, it's kind of a Mutt and Jeff type. Mutt and Jeff, where's that come from? Anyway, but there's a lady, Kathy, about your age. When I say about your age, I don't know how old you are, and I don't ask women their age. But she seems to be, her essence and her spirit seems to be, I'm a sister, or I'm a friend like a sister, or sister-in-law, or something. And so there's like, Kathy, if I say you, she's kind of parallel, or maybe a little, so kind of in your age range. And that's the way I can describe it. Okay, so she's coming through. She's not a spirit guide. She said you're way too hard on yourself, way too hard. Have the confidence that you make the right decisions and that you're a beautiful person inside and out. And the people there's one or two naysayers. There's a lot of drama around you last week, and I sense it didn't ease up over the weekend. A lot of times we think, okay, the weekend will give me a little bit of breathing space. Not from what I'm seeing. The weekend was either as bad or worse. And it just transitioned into this week. And so rest easy that your loved ones are near you, kind of pumping you up. I see a depression, and I mean not a clinical depression, but just a depression that a lot of people are going through, Kathy. So it doesn't help to say other people going through it because that doesn't help you. But I'm just seeing, Kathy, you're not a survivor, you're a fighter. There's people who succumb to the challenge, people who meet the challenge head on. That's kind of like a survivor. And people who are better than the challenge. You're better than the challenge. It just takes us a while to get ourselves up. Okay, your spirit guides, you get two main spirit guides. One's a Native American, the other one's an Amish girl. And the Native American appears to be female. I don't want to say squaw because that sounds, that sounds sexist. I'll just call her Brave, and she's from Navajo. I hear Navajo tribe, and she's She is so innocent. I see her clearly, and a lot of times don't see spirit guides that clearly, but I see her very clearly. And she says, you're beautiful. You remind yourself you're beautiful because you are beautiful. And the Amish girl says it's time, and she's a girl. She's like a teenager, maybe 20 years old. And she said, it's time to relax and pray. And you may say, Jerry, I'm on edge. I'm like this close to just screaming. I always say, Kathy, it's a good thing to have a meltdown. It really is. You can scream into a pillow. You can go outside and scream. You can go in a car and scream. That's my favorite. But it's okay to have a meltdown. And the people who are talking negative about you or who don't have belief in you and what you do and the kind of person you are, that's their issues. And so you got this sister-like spirit, and then you got the two spirit guides, all females. And they said, you're a strong female. I see. Uh-oh, I hear the sirens.
Oh, Santa's coming.
That's okay. I'd rather do Kathy's reading than stand out in the cold weather, attempt to catch a miniature candy cane. And a relationship that has been strained will slowly start to come together. It won't magically come together by Christmas, but I think in between Christmas and New Year's, there's really opportunities for reconciliation. Okay? And just don't lose faith and don't lose hope, Kathy, because you're a strong person. We've done readings before or messages before. And again, I will pray for everybody this evening and include y'all in my prayers, including that moving rug that was on your shoulder there, Mary Ellen.
He's chasing the cat now, so.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, everybody, that message today, if you did not get a reading, do check back in the comments, and Jerry does go look at them later, and he will try to respond to everyone.
Yep.
And we are always as sorry that we can't get to everybody. It's an hour show. So anyway, thank you so much for everybody that was here with us tonight, and look for us again in 2 weeks. That'll be December 22nd. And we'll have a new topic, and Jerry will be doing more readings, and we hope everyone has a good night, a good week, and enjoy the holidays.
And one more thing, what's so critical about December 22nd? It's one day before Festivus.
For the rest of us.
For the rest of us. And I got some things to get off my chest on Facebook, like the antlers in the car. Do they think it turns the car into a reindeer? What is the deal with I'm sorry. I'll save it for the 22nd.
To be continued.
To be continued. I got a lot of things to get off my chest.
All right, everybody.
All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye.